Hi, this is second week of May, second grade math. You'll need a pair of scissors and a marker, not a pencil, a marker, and your sheet that looks like this. This side has square inches, and this side is square centimeters. This lesson is on equivalence and congruence. Equivalence means equal value. Equivalence, equal value. When something's equivalent, it has equal value to something else. And we're going to be making rectangles that are equivalent. And later on, we're going to look at something else called congruence. So I'd like you to take this piece of paper and with me carefully draw. Start up here in the corner and go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now go back up to the top and go across 3. 1, 2, 3. And now go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then go across 3 and you made a rectangle. Okay. How do we find area? Do you guys remember? Area is length times width. So the length is the longer side, so let's count how many inches. Start here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the length is 4. And then the width, start here and say 0, 1, 2, 3. So the width is 3. So the length is 4 and the width is 3. And so we're going to do 4 groups of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. 4 groups of 3 makes 12. So the area of this rectangle is 12 square inches because these are inches. These are square inches on this sheet. Okay? Now I'd like you to draw another rectangle. You should have a lot of space left over here, and maybe start a little ways away from the first one, and we're going to go 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now go down 2, 1, 2. Now go 6 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then go up to 1, 2. Okay, let's find the area of this rectangle. Area is length times width. So this time our length is, start here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. And our width is 0, 1, 2 inches. So 6 times 2. And we can skip count our 2's. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So these two rectangles have equal value. So they are equivalent. If you want to write that word, okay, you have 2 equivalent rectangles, rectangles with equal value. I'd like to show you a connection. We've learned about equivalence with fractions too. So let's start with our first one. We had 3 times 4, and we're going to use fourths. And we're going to use the fractions. You guys haven't used them yet, but you will in 3rd grade. They're in this box, and the only difference between them and these fractions that you guys have used is there's a lot more pieces of these, okay? Each fractional size has a lot of pieces. I'm going to use fourths because I want to show you. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's one group of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's two groups of 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Three groups of 4. Just like in the rectangle, our first rectangle, this one, we had a group of 4 here, a group of 4 here, and a group of 4 here. So 3 groups of 4, and you just saw me lay out 3 groups of 4. And you can see that 3 groups of 4 is equivalent to 1, 2, 3 wholes in fractions. So that's using fourths. Now let's see if we can use fractions to represent the other rectangle, and that would be using halves, because we made 6 groups of 2. So if we're using fractions, we would use halves for the 2, right? So we'll do 6 halves. So here's 1 half and another half. That's 2 halves. 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves. All right? Again, you can see that 6 halves is equal to 3 wholes, which means it's got to be equal to all those fourths. And that represents our second rectangle, which is right here. So you've learned a lot about making equivalence with fractions, and I wanted to connect it to area. I'd like you to turn your sheet over to the side that has square centimeters. And this time our first rectangle is going to be, start up here in the corner, and we'll go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now go across 3. 1, 2, 3. Now go up 6 and back 3. And let's figure out the area of that rectangle. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So a rectangle that's 6 times 3, length times width, 6 times 3, is going to have an area of 18 square centimeters. Now I'd like you to draw a rectangle near that one. You can start here and go down 2. 1, 2. Now go across 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now go up 2. 1, 2. And now go across 9 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're going to skip count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So we did 9 groups of 2 because the length was 9, the width is 2, and area is length times width. 9 groups of 2, 18. And now, just for fun, we're going to make a very long, skinny rectangle. And we can start here, go down 1. And now go across 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Go down 1 and connect back to the beginning, which should be 18. And again, let's figure out the area of this rectangle. It's length times width. The length was 18. The width is 1. 18 times 1 is 18. Anything times 1 is just itself, right? Miss Cammy times 1 is Miss Cammy. This pen times 1 is this pen. Pair of scissors times 1 is a pair of scissors. So anything times 1 is just itself. So 18 times 1 is 18. All 3 of these rectangles are equivalent. Okay, now I'd like you to draw one more rectangle. Start here, and we're going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. And now you're going to go across 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Come up 3. 1, 2, 3. And connect back. Okay, length times width. 6 times 1, 2, 3. 6 times 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. This last rectangle that you made, I'd like you to cut it out and see if you can exactly match it to one of the other rectangles you made. All right, it should exactly match the very first one. So those two are congruent. Of course, they're also equivalent because they have equal value, 18 and 18. They're definitely equivalent, aren't they? But these two also are called congruent because their sides match. The only thing that made them different was this one was lying down, its base was its longest side, and this one's base is its shorter side. But those are called congruent. Okay? So now you know that all 4 of these are equivalent, but only 2 of them are congruent. And so that's our new word of the day, congruent. If you want to figure out, using your squared paper, a couple other ways to make rectangles that are equivalent or congruent, please do. Have fun coming up with different ways, okay? You could try 2 different ways to make a rectangle that has an area of 24. Or you could try 2 different ways to make a rectangle that has an area of 20. Okay? Just challenge yourself a little bit using your squared paper. It's a little easier on this side with the square centimeters because the squares are smaller, so you can draw bigger rectangles without taking up as much room. Their sides can be longer. On this side, you already used up quite a bit of it. I also have a little story I thought I might tell you, and it's about school. School a long, long time ago. My dad went to school in Austria, and it was right after World War II. When he was a little kid, he was in World War II, and there were bombs dropping on Vienna, which is where he lived. And the apartment where he lived was at the top of 142 steps, and him and his sister would have to race down all those steps to get to the basement. It's the bomb shelter. And that happened a lot. These big sirens would go off, and they'd have to run as fast as they could. They ended up using bits of cardboard and trying to slide down the stairs. It was a bit bumpy, but got them down quicker. But once the war ended, everybody thought Austria was going to get split in half, and that half of it would go to Western Europe, and that the other half would become part of Eastern Europe, which was kind of being run by Russia. So his dad decided to put him on a train and send him to a school in the mountains, in the western part. And that's called Tyrol and Salzburg. And he went to a teeny tiny village in the mountains where some of the people never even brushed their teeth. And remember this, he was a city kid. And so he got kind of teased and bullied because he was kind of not a big tough farm kid. He'd never really done that kind of thing. He didn't know how to milk a cow. He didn't know how to buck hay. There was a lot of skills those kids had that my dad didn't know anything about. So for the first few months that he was there, let's just say he was getting teased and bullied a lot, and he didn't really like school, and he just wanted to run around in the mountains and forget about school. But he went. His mom wanted him to. His dad wasn't there. He was back in Vienna. And then one day, the train dropped off a new family. Another family had decided to have their kids go to school in the mountains just in case Austria got split in half. And that kid got off the train wearing a bright pink tuxedo. And my dad kind of started to think, hey, maybe my life won't be so bad now. And the kid in the bright pink tuxedo was about a 10-year-old boy, a couple years older than my dad. And all the farm kids gathered around. They'd never seen a bright pink tuxedo. I don't think they'd ever even seen a black and white tuxedo. And they'd certainly never seen a bright pink one. And they all looked at that kid and they started asking questions like, where are you from? What are you coming here for? And that kid said, Ich bringe Kultur, which means I bring culture. Sure enough, my dad didn't get bullied quite as much from that day on, because the other kid did.